Blog Talk Radio.
The following broadcast is brought to you by the iGolf Sports Network.
Golf Talk Live is sponsored by the iGolf Sports Network and Golf Tips Magazine. Here's Andrew to tell you more about our sponsors.
iGolf Sports is a live stream broadcast and media production company providing quality programming designed to attract the golfing enthusiast. And Golf Tips, the game's most in-depth instruction magazine, including reviews on the latest equipment, tips from top teaching professionals, all designed to help you improve from tee to green. Welcome to Golf Talk Live with your host, Ted Odorico. Join Ted each week as he speaks with some of the best in golf. This week's special guest will join us a bit later. But first up is another great discussion on Coach's Corner. So let's introduce tonight's Coach's Corner panel.
All right, good evening, everybody, and once again, welcome to Golf Talk Live. I'm your host, Ted Odorico, and we've got a great show for you tonight, as always. We're going to start things off here in just a moment with another great discussion on the Coach's Corner panel. And then a little bit later on, I'm going to be joined by this evening's special guest, Will Carswell. He is the sales director for Blue Tees Golf. He'll be joining me on the second half of the show, so I'm looking forward to speaking with him. And just a reminder, of course, we are live every Thursday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. Central here on the blogtalkradio.com network. Of course, if you're on the East Coast, that would be 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome to the show. And obviously you found us either online or you've heard about the show through somebody. Best way to catch us live is, of course, go to blogtalkradio.com/Golf Talk Live. Or if you're not able to tune in live, you can listen anywhere podcasts are heard on any of the social media platforms like iTunes, Castbox, and Spotify. And we'll tell you a little bit more about that at the end of the show. But for those of you joining us live, again, welcome to the show. I'm going to just introduce the Coach's Corner panel here, and then we will get into tonight's discussion. First up, of course, is a good friend and returning special guest on the Coach's Corner panel each season. Of course, I'm talking about my good friend John Hughes, who's a PGA Master Professional and an honorary president of the North Florida PGA section. And he was also a recipient of the 2013 PGA's Professional Development Award, as well as a senior editor and Golf Tips Magazine top 25 instructor and part of the Golf Tips advisory staff. Also, first time on the show and to the panel is Jim Endicott. He is the Director of Instruction at the Royal St. Cloud Golf Links in Florida. Over 33 years of great teaching experience to all levels of golfers. And he's received numerous awards, including just a few, the Orange Belt Conference Youth Player Development Award. And in 2022, he won several, including the East Central Chapter of North Florida PGA Section's Patriot Award, as well as the East Central Chapter North Florida PGA Section's Youth Player Development Award. And he was also a former director of the Golf Digest School. So, gentlemen, welcome to the Coach's Corner panel here on Golf Talk Live.
Thank you, Ted.
All right, I appreciate it, guys. And Jim, welcome to the show. It's first time for you, and especially first time on the panel. And you're going to be joining me, I know, a little bit later this season for an exclusive interview, and we're looking forward to that as well. But welcome to the panel.
Thank you, Ted. It's exciting to be a part of the panel. I'm looking forward to engaging in the panel.
And also, thank you. Jim also just recently put in a great tip that's going to be coming up in an upcoming issue of Golf Tips Magazine. Here in probably about a month's time. We're just getting everything put together for our May-June issue, which will be coming out in a few weeks. We're just doing the final touches to it. So we're looking forward to sharing that with that audience as well. So, again, appreciate your contribution and look forward to many more as we move down the road. All right, guys, we're going to focus tonight. And John, of course, I'm going to start with you. We're going to start on it's actually an article that I put together for the March-April issue of Golf Tips Magazine, called Master Your Game, Becoming the Best Player You Can Be. And this week, we're going to continue the discussion on that series, if you will, and we're going to focus really on two factors of the game, the mind and emotional game. So we want to essentially tackle the golfing mindset and emotions, sort of helping you find and there's some characteristics, I think, that are designed to help you find your optimal mindset or mental and emotional state. And although you may not play like a top athlete, you can certainly learn from them. So John, we're going to pare down on a few of these here, and I'm going to start with you, as I mentioned. So here's some of the mental and emotional keys or mind game keys, if you will, that top athletes work on that can certainly help some of our listeners out there. The first one is performing as if you're on autopilot. So if you ever watch some of the top athletes, they typically perform at their peak when fully absorbed in what they are doing with little or no conscious thought during their performance. So the takeaway that I really want to express here for our listeners is your performance should feel effortless instead of trying to overpower or force shots. Maybe you could expand a little bit on that and just really sort of dial down on what we're talking about here.
Sure. First, thanks again for the opportunity this season, Ted, to be part of the panel. Always a lot of fun. And Jim Endicott, a good friend of mine, welcome. You're going to have a lot of fun being part of this, and looking forward to a good discussion this evening. Autopilot, there's a lot of different autopilots that go on in somebody's life, such as the way you breathe and the way you do things just habitually. I think what you're trying to convey to the listeners is real simple, that as you're playing, you shouldn't feel like it's anything out of the ordinary, that it's a pretty ordinary day, it's a pretty ordinary round, regardless of what the round may mean. And you're doing some pretty ordinary things. You're not necessarily overstressing yourself, trying to put yourself in an overpressurized situation. That's tough to do the first time out. I can remember several times throughout my life and career being faced with a first time experiencing something, and it's really hard to go on autopilot that way. But after you've done things a lot over a period of time, when that mundaneness sets in, you're actually on autopilot. So when it comes to handling pressure, when it comes to handling the smallest of pressures, how much can you get into a process? How much can you get into a rhythm and routine that allows you to feel very much like you're on autopilot, like there is nothing really out of the ordinary, even though there is, with what you're doing. The more you can calm yourself that way, the more you can regulate your heartbeat that way, the more you can regulate your emotions and keep those in check so you can just go about your business. Normally, that's when your best performances happen. And I think the best way to sum it up is when you hear an announcer talk about any athlete and how the game is slowed down for them. That's another way of saying they're on autopilot. That the initial pressures, the initial newness, the honeymoon per se is over, and they've gotten into a routine that allows them to feel like the game isn't moving so fast. That 18 holes, even though it was played in 4.5 hours, felt like it was played in 5 minutes. It felt like 4.5 hours, and it felt like I enjoyed every shot. And I think that's an easy way for the common golfer, the average golfer, to understand, hey, here's autopilot for you. It should feel like it's just another day for you.
Well said. And you know, the idea typically, John, is really we're not trying to, and I'm referring to, of course, listeners out here, is you don't want to control or micromanage everything out in the golf course. The key word is really effortless. You want to feel, certainly you're going to be stymied, throughout your round with some difficult situations, but you don't want to try to overpower or muscle the shots. You want to just let things sort of naturally happen, as I said, effortlessly. And that's where, you hear a lot of the top athletes, they kind of get into that zone you've heard them talk about. Well, that's essentially what the same thing is. What they're doing is they're putting it in autopilot. They're comfortable with their swing. They're comfortable how they're playing, and they're not really overthinking the process. So that's really what we're talking about here, and well done, John. Jim, I'm going to give you an opportunity as well if you want to add anything to that, but your question I've got here is on the next part of it, and that is to be focused in the moment. So typically athletes perform their best when they're not overanalyzing how they play or overthinking their technique or really actually worrying about outcomes and mentally replaying every mistake they have made during the round. So the takeaway here is this requires you to be present in the moment and have full trust in your ability to make quality shots. So you're welcome to, if you want to add anything to what John talked about, or if you feel that he covered everything. But that's essentially what I want you to talk about a little bit here, if you wouldn't mind, is staying focused in the moment.
Well, thank you, Ted. Yes, I think John really touched on the autopilot segment, and it kind of segues into what you're saying here regarding technical. It's so easy that when we hit an indifferent shot and we get ourselves into some trouble to want to immediately go to, why did I hit that shot? What caused that? What's the technical aspect of it? Well, in actual fact, what we need to do is stay more in the presence of the shot, picture of the shot. What do I need to do to execute each shot? And I guess that also kind of talks to the autopilot, where you have a process. You look at the lie. You then check your distance. You then factor in the things that could influence the distance. Is it uphill, downhill? Is it into the wind? And you get into this routine of each and every shot has the same process of obtaining the decision of what to do, the picture of what to do, and then going ahead and doing that, doing the picture. I listened to a thing with Tiger once, and he talked about how he simply visualizes the shot, feels the shot, and then creates it. And so it takes you away from the technical aspects. And then if you happen to hit a shot that maybe isn't what you planned, it's so easy to want to go back to the technical aspects on the next shot and think about that while executing it. But what I like to have the players do is what I'll call a post-shot routine. So they've hit their shot, they've gone through their process, they've pictured what they wanted to do, and it didn't quite perform what they wanted. They understand what caused that. They take a rehearsal swing prior to putting the club in the bag of potentially the fix, and now the technical aspect is gone. So when they get to the next shot, they're focused again on that process of how do I execute the picture that I see on this shot.
Well said, and some great points, Jim. I appreciate that. You know, I'm glad you actually raised, Tiger. Nicholas, I'll throw in there as well. Certainly many consider him to be one of the greatest players of all time. Tiger certainly is right there with him. The one thing that they both had a very strong ability was to block out distractions, and they were able to be in that moment. Whatever shot was at hand, didn't matter what happened before, that shot was gone. They're in the particular moment at hand, and they had the ability to really assess the next shot that they needed to take, and they had the ability really to, be blind or potentially remove any outside distractions, certainly to the best of their ability, and they were both very good at it. So, again, being focused in the moment, you want to be able to just think about the shot at hand and not worry about any past shots. Don't worry about, 3 holes ahead. Just focus on the shot you need to take right now. And you raised some very, very good points that hopefully will help some of our listeners out there. John, I'm going to pivot back to you. This one here is sort of, again, they all sort of segue into one another. Being in control of emotions is the next one. Top athletes perform optimally when they take charge of their emotions instead of allowing emotions to dictate their level of play. And for the amateur or average golfer to perform at their peak, they need to have a clear, non-judgmental mind. And this type of quiet mind helps you to keep off that emotional roller coaster. The takeaway here is being able to manage your emotions can be a real game changer, and that results in more consistent scoring. So, I know that sort of touches a lot of the points. Give us an idea here. This is a crucial part of the game as well that a lot of people overlook is emotionally how you handle yourself out in the golf course. Go ahead, John.
Sure. So I've worked with a lot of sports psychologists throughout my lifetime, playing soccer until I was 20 and golf ever since then. And one of the things people have to recognize when a sports psychologist talking about emotions is there is a need to emote, E-M-O-T-E. But when you over-emote, that's typically when things get out of hand. My father used to tell me in a very simplistic way, you don't want your highs too high and your lows too low. It's really hard to ride that roller coaster when you're trying to be successful. It's something, I think that the statement you said as far as keeping your emotions in check, it goes without saying. It's not only golf, it's life, it's business, it's all the other things that you're part of. So you can borrow from some of these things that you do personally, professionally. The same things that help you keep your emotions in check in those situations can be massive tools on the golf course. You're still the same person simply because you're in a different arena. You're on the golf course, you're outdoors, you're away from personal things or professional things. Doesn't mean you change and metamorphosize from Dr. Jekyll into Mr. Hyde. The things that work for you off the course will work for you on the course when it comes to controlling your emotions. Breathing techniques, tapping techniques, TM techniques. I can keep listing them. Bottom line is, as you said, keeping your emotions in check provides you the opportunity to be more successful, because when those emotions take you over, your ability to rationalize becomes sacrificed to a certain extent. And then based on the pressure you're placing on yourself, the emotions heighten that pressure. They make the pressure more acute, potentially to the point where it overwhelms you. And at some point, you just sort of throw your hands up, feeling so overwhelmed, you let the situation handle you versus you handle the situation. And that's typically when emotions have gotten totally out of hand. It's something that you have to work out. It's something you have to experience in each given situation. And the pre-shot and the post-shot evaluation that Jim just spoke about is a great way to compartmentalize emotions. You're able to wrap it up in a bud and leave it there and be able to walk and or ride to your next shot, hoping that you left most of the emotion back where it first occurred, so you can then be more rational, make better decisions going forward. Again, think of the things that you do off the golf course. You'll be very surprised if you utilize some of those tools that you learned off the golf course, on the golf course, to control your emotions. Don't be surprised if it allows you to make better decisions, that it lowers your score, not significantly, but enough to where maybe you're getting close to a scoring goal, or maybe you're getting close to a statistical goal, simply because emotional decisions are not getting in the way of the practical decisions.
I couldn't agree more. Well said. And you know, again, part of being in control of emotions is not reflecting during your round. Certainly you can reflect later on if you've had some bad shots or even bad holes. You can certainly make a note of them as you go along and deal with them after and focus on some of the problems that may have arisen during that round. But you want to not drag that, as I've always said. You know, you don't want to feel like you're dragging baggage, down the terminal of an airport. That's the feeling that a lot of people have, is they're bringing baggage from past holes, past rounds, or even past seasons. Controlling your emotions. And the one thing that we can really take away from professionals is the fact that, for the most part, certainly they have their moments too, but they're very in control of those emotions. Certainly they've had their fair share of bad misfortunes and whatnot along the way, but they're very capable of sort of, circling the wagon and getting back on track and not focusing on that. And if they've had some issues, that are physical issues in the game where they're maybe not hitting the ball as solid, they'll deal with that afterwards on the range or, the next time that they go out and practice a little bit. But a lot of our amateur golfers tend to bring that out in the golf course with them, and it just affects how they play. It affects their emotions, and what could start off as a good round after a bad hole or two suddenly just comes off the rails. So it's very important to be in control of those emotions, and I think if you do some of the things that John just mentioned, you're certainly going to be well on your way to having a successful and enjoyable experience. And that's what we're going to talk about with you, Jim, right now, is enjoying the experience. Peak performers, they love to be competitive. They enjoy the competition. They love getting out there and showcasing the best. But many of our amateur golfers look at playing in tournaments as somewhat of a chore, or even appear as they're having a painful mental experience while they're on the golf course. So the takeaway here is, I think maintaining a positive attitude toward an event will help shape how you feel about the event. So really what I'd like for you to maybe expand a little bit here, Jim, is obviously we want to have fun, but what can we do mentally to prepare for that event so that we're not overwhelmed with not only emotions, but we're actually enjoying it and not looking at it as, something that, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to make a fool of myself, or I'm not going to play well. What can we do to make it a more enjoyable experience?
Well, I think the bottom line, we have to remember we're playing a game, and games are intended to be fun. And when you listen to players that are at the top of their game, the best they are, the guys who are playing this week at the Players, they're having fun out there. They're enjoying the moment. They're enjoying the competition of executing each shot. That drives them and fulfills them in the joy of the game. And they realize, and they're there to have a challenge, and they realize that the challenge is a big part of why they're there as well. And so when they get into an indifferent situation, perhaps they drove it into the trees, they look at that not as a failure, either the shot they just hit or what they're going to do, but they look at it as, here's another challenge. And I like a challenge. I enjoy a challenge. A challenge is fun to overcome. And so I'm going to go through my process to overcome this and show anybody that I'm playing with that I can achieve this. I talked to some of my competitive players, and if they've hit an indifferent shot, perhaps they hit it, like I just said, off into the trees, and their competitor in their group drove it straight down the middle of the fairway. I tell them, you are in an advantage. Even though you're in the trees, if you go and you make par on this hole, you've gotten in that other player's head, and they're going to wonder, how am I going to beat this one? And that's what you want when you're out there playing. You want to get your best score, and you want to enjoy it from overcoming any of the challenges that are in front of you.
Yeah, well said. And this is something too, guys, that a lot of players fall into this trap, is they assume just because they hit, maybe a less desirable tee shot, ending up in the trees or ending up in some rough, that suddenly that's a bad hole. They have to learn to look at it as a learning experience as well and seize the opportunity. The round's not over yet. This hole's not even over yet. We have to go back to what we talked about, again, the emotions and also being in the moment. So, okay, now you're faced with that challenge. What do you need to do? And obviously, as you become a more experienced golfer, these things come a little bit more, quickly and a little easier for you. For some newer golfers, there may be, it's more of a difficult challenge. But to really enjoy the experience, you've got to not allow yourself to go down that path that just because the shot didn't come off the way you want doesn't mean that you're now faced with a terrible opportunity. You have to look at it as a positive opportunity. And I think, for players that, maybe are not great ball strikers and they're playing in an upcoming corporate event or what have you, obviously you want to do this well in advance, but, get out and work with a professional and say, look, I've got a corporate event coming up in a couple of months. There's some things that we can work on to tighten my game up. Don't wait till the week before the event and get out there and, and say, well, can you suddenly tweak my game so I don't look, foolish out on the golf course? Well, that's just not going to happen. You're not allowing yourself, you're not allowing yourself enough time. So I think the takeaway, as I said, maintaining a positive attitude towards the event and doing your due diligence well in advance of the event to, make the changes if necessary, or certainly do things that are going to help make you a little bit better player out there. I just want to add one real quick thing, and then we're going to move on to the next point. I had an interesting call today from one of the subscribers from Golf Tips Magazine, and it was in conjunction to an article that I did in the last issue, and it talked about tempo and timing. What was really interesting about our conversation this afternoon was that he really appreciated it. It was specifically on tempo and timing that I added at the end of the article. And he said, for years he's been reading a lot of different things, and he said it was one of the most sort of pared down article that he'd ever written. And I'm not saying this to pat myself on the back. I'm saying it for a purpose. And that is, it's never too late for a learning experience. This gentleman is in his 70s, so he's been playing for many, many years, 50-something years, I think he said, and he still is learning this game. So it doesn't matter what level you're at and where you're starting. He's still out there enjoying this game, and he's receptive to learning new and enjoying those experiences. And that's what we've got to make sure when we're teaching these folks out there, is that they're enjoying it, having fun, but at the same time, they're learning things along the way. If they get bored or get frustrated too often, that's when they're going to start dropping out of the game. So just something I just wanted to add. It was very nice to hear that from him. Obviously, it made me feel good, but it just goes to show you that no matter what age, they're still out there trying to do battle out in the golf course, and he's enjoying it even that much more now as a result of that article. So I was just wanted to share that. All right, John, I'm going to come back to you. And actually, this particular one, I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Could I throw one other thing in while we're on the topic of enjoying it out there? And it just came to mind as you were talking there. Walter Hagen once said that he figures he's going to hit, in his mind, he was going to hit 7 indifferent shots on the golf course. And when he did, or he had a bad hole, he knew that was just simply one of the 7. And it didn't it gave him an out of not letting that thing bother him, and to understand that someone goes out and has a bad hole, that's not what ruins the round. It's holding on to that and continuing to think about that bad hole. Rory won the FedEx after making triple to open the tournament, so we can put those behind us and move forward.
Yeah, exactly. Well said, Jim. And that's really the point that we're trying to make here, is the fact that bad shots are going to happen to everybody. Even the best of the best are going to have their fair share. The difference is how you handle them is what actually makes the difference. And the reason why they're where they are and the rest of the golfers out there are where they are is because they've learned and addressed these issues that we've talked about here so far along the way, and have become much better and more successful at achieving these things, whether it be their emotions, whether it be being in the moment, and some of the other things that we talked about. And that's why they're able to get out there week in, week out and do battle on the golf course. John, as I mentioned, I'm going to come to you, but Jim, I'm also going to let you have an opportunity as well to add your thoughts after John. This one here is building confidence, which arises from all of the above. Again, top peak performers know they have the ability to produce optimal results across a wide range of circumstances, and it's certainly essential for all golfers to maintain positive beliefs and thoughts during the round of golf, no matter what happened during the shots leading up to the current shot, which is what we really just talked about. The takeaway here is be focused on the task at hand. As we mentioned, don't allow negative thoughts about your round to continue to creep in, and you'll have plenty of time to grade your performance after the tournament is over or after the event is over. So, John, maybe you can talk about some ways that will help the golfer to build some confidence as they lead up to the round, and maybe during the tournament that they can do to sort of boost their confidence a little bit while they're out there.
Sure. And I think this past weekend's Arnold Palmer Invitational with Kurt Kitayama winning the way he did, triple bogeying 9 Sunday, double bogeying a whole Saturday. I mean, that's unheard of. When we're talking about dealing with adversity, letting a little of emotion out, that's a really good example of all this. From the standpoint of view of building confidence prior, I think if you look at him, and he's been playing for him very well for a long period of time, and what he's allowed himself to do is remember the positive things he's doing. He catalogs the not so good things, the indifferent things, as Jim had mentioned, and learns from them, and has always got a sight for the future, not necessarily for the past. And the amount of times he's been a runner-up over the past year or so has really been able to build that kind of confidence for him. I think the average amateur can look at it as not necessarily a round or a tournament at a time, but actually a shot at a time, a task at a time. Hey, I made a great decision there. I may not have performed it well, but I picked the right club. I hit it the right distance. It felt good on the golf club. It was a little bit right. Maybe I was aimed that way, or maybe I left the face open a little bit, but that's okay. Here's all these check marks in the positive column, only a couple in the negative column, and again, I like the word indifferent column versus negative. And that indifferent column you're trying to put in the learning column. When I try to help my clients out, what did you learn from that? How can you catalog that experience in the filing cabinet of your brain, so when you need to pull upon that in the future, you've got that experience to guide you through. When you're talking about overcoming the adversity in the middle of a round, again, I go back to a double Saturday, a triple Sunday. The odds of a PGA Tour player winning a tournament doing that is astronomical. But I think what you saw in him was he knew he played the backside better than the front. He knew he struggled with the holes on the front. He knew that there were pin positions, there were tee positions. The holes just set up for his eye better on the back. And that if he could just sort of get through the front with as little damage as possible, that he could have a chance. And everybody counted him out after the ninth hole Sunday. But yet there he was on 18, wonderfully hitting a long, difficult putt to as close as he did. If that doesn't elude confidence and the manner in which he held himself throughout the back nine, I'm not sure what else you could put in Webster's dictionary as a picture of confidence. You never saw him waver. You saw him keep with his routine. And you saw him dig into that memory bank of confidence, that memory bank of good memories from the three previous rounds on the backside, that he was sort of on that autopilot. Back there, he was comfortable. He was doing the things he knew he could do, and he knew he was through his adversity. And he handled the rest of that back nine just brilliantly. I mean, again, the odds of him doing that are astronomical. But when you're talking about confidence, you never saw his face waver, his body waver. The nonverbal was right there saying, look, one thing went bad. It's okay. I've got the back nine. The back nine's going to help me out. You could see that as he made the turn.
Yeah, and there's so many takeaways from that experience, Jim, that I think really a lot of our amateur golfers could take away. John's, obviously laid out, quite eloquently, many of them. So I want to put a little bit of a different twist to the question, which I often do. John can verify, because I don't want you just to sort of, repeat the same thing. But, taking let's say a higher handicap golfer who has come into a tournament, into an event, is feeling pretty good, and all of a sudden the wheels fall off the bus. What do you say to them if you were in their head? What would the conversation be to get them back? What would be the steps that you would take to get them back on track and hopefully be able to help them rebuild some of that confidence? Because that's, again, as John was talking about the player this past weekend, that's something that's unheard of, at that level. It's certainly very common for the rest of us out there, but for somebody in that level. But for an everyday golfer out there that's maybe lost a little bit of their confidence, what's that conversation you're going to have if you were in their head?
And you're speaking of their confidence. The wheels are coming off during the round is what we're looking at? How would we
Yes.
get them back on track there?
Yes.
If I were their caddy, put it from that perspective, so I am able to be walking along and talking with them. We talk a little bit about what's in front of us, particularly if it's a golf course that we have played multiple times. We would talk about the positives we've had in the past going forward. Oftentimes I'll talk to a player as they prepare for a round. And again, we're talking of a higher handicap player, and I would ask them the question, have you made a par on each of the holes on this golf course at some point in your life? And if they say, they would be able to say, yes, let's take them as a bogey golfer. They've been able to make a par on every single hole going forward. So we have the opportunity in front of us to do the same. And so we're going in reflection of what's good ahead of us, not what's happened behind us. And then I would get them to focus in on that routine, as we talked earlier tonight, of let's go through the process. If we can stay in the process of what we need to do and what the picture of the shot looks like. And again, I'm taking them away from being in technical aspects, because that's usually the first place the higher handicapper goes is I've hit some indifferent shots, so I've got to fix my golf swing. We don't fix our golf swing there. We're going to take what we have, and we're going to see a picture. It's much like throwing a ball if we were playing catch. We don't think about how we do that. We throw it at that mitt and the person on the other side. And so we take our game of golf and put it in that perspective. How do I move this ball to a place that I can hit a good one next time? And if we get in that process, what can I hit here to a place that gives me a chance to hit a good one next time? They start seeing good shots. They may be a little bit conservative. They see good shots, and good shots breed good shots, and good shots breed confidence in the situation. And so we don't take those risks. We're a long ways away. I'll use the example of a player is their 3-wood distance to the hole. And they feel like they've got to hit this so that they can get it up there and make their par. Well, I would help them by thinking, if we hit that 3-wood, how many times out of 10 am I going to knock that on the green? And they might say to us, 1 or 2. Well, that means that there's 8 or 9 shots out of 10 that are not going to be on the green. So this is a 2-shot situation. If we were a 3-wood distance from the hole, I've never seen a player that couldn't hit 2 9-irons that distance. They got a good chance of hitting something that looks good, feels good, and then they hit a couple of those. They're on their green, they 2-putt, they get their bogey, and off they go. And now we just built some confidence back. And I think to piggyback on what John talked about, confidence is built from reflection. You reflect over your round of what was good, not what was bad, is particularly within a tournament. What was good, especially the day of. Don't think about what you need to work on until the next day, because going back to what we talked about earlier tonight, the emotions are playing with you when you walk off that golf course. And don't let the emotions cloud your judgment of what you did. Think about what was good. They don't typically cloud the good. They do get in the way of the bad and make the bad seem even worse. So think about what's good as they finish their round. And then the next day, consider what they need to work on. And I always like to look at it that way. It wasn't what I did poorly. It's what I need to improve on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well said. And I think a lot of golfers out there could use you on the bag. So might want to consider getting into some caddying services a little bit as well, besides just the teaching. I think that's some great advice for many of our players out there. And you know, just to quickly add, you know, this is so true. You know, we see so often players fall into that trap. You know, golf is really a sport where many players get consumed by their emotions, whether it be outside distractions affecting them or negative thoughts. And these factors can often make a golfer feel out of control and resulting in a couple of different reactions, either giving up and, sort of going through the motions just to finish out that round, or forced play, trying harder by adjusting, as you mentioned, Jim, their mechanics or overanalyzing their play. And, if they want to be a more optimal mindset player and get, see some results and get to that sort of peak performance, it requires them to avoid engaging and overthinking and analyzing while they're playing. And, as we all know, that's easier said than done, right? So, that's something that we want to get people. So we've got a little bit of time left, and we got through. You guys did a great job. We got some time left. So what I want to do is, for each of you, John, I'm going to come to you first, and then Jim. We'll keep the same order. What I'd like for you to do, and just sort of when I say soft on the points that we've talked about tonight, and I'm going to give you two different scenarios. John, I'm going to give you, I'll let you have the choice of either a new student coming in, what you're going to do to get them to where we need them to be based on some of the discussion we've had tonight, or certainly if you want somebody that's maybe played a little bit, that's fine. And then, Jim, what I'm going to give you is I'm going to give you a golfer who's played for a number of years, maybe stepped away from the game, and is now coming back for that first time to sort of re-engage. So that's going to be your player that you're going to isolate some of these key points that we talked about tonight. So walk us through the process. Just a couple of points. You don't have to, give a specific roadmap, but just a generalization of what you're going to do, John, with, one of those players that's just coming for the first time, or maybe he's played a little bit, has a little bit of understanding the game. Walk us through some of the points that you're going to do to get them to be the best player that they can be. So go ahead.
Sure. I'll hit them both with Jim's help. Jim touched on it. For the better players, been around a little bit. Have you parred all these holes before? Have you played these holes before? And what's your best scores? I mean, to build some confidence and to create a plan that you can feel confident in, that's a fantastic way of doing it. And it's something that I'm constantly helping my better players understand, that they've got this memory bank of good things, so long as they don't take it to an extreme and get overly emotional about it and use it more as a strategy. I would say the vast majority of the time my players are able to use that strategy to their advantage. For the new player, you've got something on your side that most any other player doesn't have, and that's its flip side to the coin. Your coin's facing heads all the time. You've got nothing but upside. You've got nothing but positive things that you can choose to retain, and that's the operative word. What are you going to choose to retain? Are you going to choose to retain all the negatives and dwell on that? Is that part of your overall DNA makeup outside of golf, but it makes you successful? I'm certainly not going to stand in the way of that. But golf has a way of unduly bringing you more negatives than maybe you deserve. And if you're like that, you may want to think twice about how do you level that out. But I think most all great golfers start with understanding, can I remember the good things? Can I remember what I did well, no matter how small it was, and build upon that? I'm constantly telling new players, hey, your habits are not bad. They might be a little old based on other things you've done, but as far as new memories, new things that you can take to the next round or the next shot, you've got an open bank, and it's waiting for a lot of deposits. And the more deposits you make into that bank of positiveness, the better off you're going to be, both short and long term. It's not about trying to fix it. Jim said that earlier. Let's not try to fix it. Let's go play, and let's make the notes of how you played and played well. Let's take some notes as to, hey, if you were going to fix it at that particular point, what were you going to fix? So let's bring that to the practice facility to fix it. Let's bring it to a coaching session to fix it. And let me help guide you to understand what positive you may have missed and or the positive you picked up. How can we further detail it for you so you can become your own best friend, your own best coach out there, to talk positively to yourself and not negatively? and to understand that heads-up coin, it's looking for more heads to join. It's got its tail facing backwards for a reason, and that's because you've got nothing but upside in front of you.
Well said. A great analogy and assessment of that type of player. So, Jim, as I mentioned, for you, what I'd like you to talk a little bit about, and obviously I know you're going to touch on some of the same points, but, now we're looking at a player who's maybe played 30-odd years, maybe even more, and they've fallen away from the game. Maybe they became frustrated over time. They just didn't see as much improvement as they had hoped, and just got away from the game out of frustration. And for some reason, whatever the cause may be, they've decided to pick up the clubs again and give it another go. That person walks into your facility and says, I've been playing for a number of years. Here's my situation. What can we do? Touch on some of the points we talked about tonight, how that they can be applied to help that person get back into, no pun intended, the swing of things.
Well, I think one of the challenges that player faces is their memory. They played the game for a period of time, and they had a certain skill level and a certain scoring level when they walked away from it. And as they come back, their expectation is likely going to be, well, I should be at the same level when I come back, or at least reasonably close to that level. And so we need to make sure that we set their expectations in a proper way. After we've spent a little bit of time on the range, we would have an understanding of how well they'll hit the golf ball. And then as we go out on the golf course, initially I would talk to them about if they have a desire to keep track of a score. First and foremost, count the shots they liked. And that keeps them in a positive light. And if they feel the need to also count how many, count both. How many they liked and how many they had. And so they may go along and play 9 holes and find that they liked 10 shots and they shot 50. And then the next round they may like 15 and they still shot 50. And then they liked 20. And so they're seeing an improvement in the number of shots they like. And it builds some confidence, as we talked about. It keeps their emotions such that, hey, I am getting better, even though perhaps my overall score isn't going down. And then at some point we would establish a personal par. And keeping in mind that par is based on 2 putts on a hole. And so we would take a player of this caliber and say, okay, we're going to have bogey as our par. And so let's say it's a par 4 hole, and that par 4 now is going to be a par 5 for us, and that gives us 3 hits to get there. And let's say this hole is 330 yards. Well, based on us having 2 putts, that means I get 3 to get to the green. I have to hit 3 shots of 110 yards. And so they could do that and have success with perhaps their wedge or 9-iron 3 times, get it on, 2-putt, make their bogey. And then they would change that into maybe teeing off with the 5-iron, and then they could probably get to the green with something 7-iron or so. And then they would build on up. And so we would gradually get them to hit their target scores and keep their confidence level up by having them hit shots that they feel that they can be successful with. If we look at what golf is a matter of hitting a ball a certain distance at a target. And note I said a certain distance, not necessarily a maximum distance, because we're trying to get the best score on every hole. And certainly a 6 is better than a 7. So we want to go about it to have good shots, have fun, build confidence, get them re-engaged, and then we can really go after trying to find that lower score or meet their target score.
You know, that's really a great way that you've laid that out, because again, sort of redefining par for them at that particular moment. And also, not trying to produce results that are not realistic for them and for their game at that, again, particular time, being realistic in their expectations. Quite often, even with newer players, they see others out there and they think, okay, well, I need to do this as well. And I think, sort of taking, maybe using the term baby steps a little bit, even for a player that's played for a number of years, again, as you pointed out, Jim, coming back, a lot of times they think, well, I can, I might be a little rusty, but I can pick up where I left off. And you'd be surprised if you haven't played for a number of years, certainly some things might come back, but it takes a while and it's a process. And, the old saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. So I think by taking the steps that you laid out there, I think is a great way, not only for newer golfers, but particularly for golfers that have maybe stepped away from the game, is without having to necessarily reinvent the wheel. A lot of times we see where some drastic changes are made right away, and that just adds to the frustration. So I kind of like how you laid that out. I think it's a great plan, especially for that type of golfer. And again, as you said, it helps keep their emotions in check. It helps them build confidence and gets them in a routine or pattern of success that's going to bid them, bear out well over time. And hopefully they will continue to have fun, and I believe they will. So that's a great answer, and I love some of the points that you made out. As we get ready to wind down here, I'm going to give each of you a few moments if you want to let the folks know the best way if they want to reach out to you, if they maybe have some questions or they want to maybe come and see you at some point and for some lessons. And if you have anything specific that you'd like to plug, by all means, go ahead. John, I'm going to keep it, again, the order. You go ahead first, and then Jim.
Sure. First, Jim, wonderful job first time out. Rookie nerves are not there. Always fantastic to be talking to you as well, and looking forward to more in the future, both with Ted and around the North Florida area. Want to remind everybody that you can find me very easily, John Hughes Golf. Put a hashtag, an ampersand sign in front, whatever it happens to be, and that's where you can find me. I'm at Falcons Fire Golf Club in Kissimmee, Florida. Busy right now in the middle of the season. We are still selling spots to visit me at Macklemore in May and June. You want to visit MacklemoreGolfSchool.com to do that. And last but not least, and this is something Ted probably forgot about or didn't know about, I want to thank the 1,400-plus men and women of the North Florida PGA. It's recognizing me as their 2023 Teacher Coach of the Year. It's an honor. It's a standard, believe it or not, that I try to live up to and have the people associated with my team live up to, and I can't thank my team enough for their support for that honor. It is a team award, not just an individual one, and hopefully that shines some positiveness on everybody, not only me and my team, but Jim and the other people here in North Florida, that we've got a really deep talent pool here, that you can come here and find some really good coaching and improve your game. And I hope you take us up on it, and whether it's me or Jim or any of the others, I do hope you visit us here and see what we can do to help you improve your golf skills going forward. And last but not least, Ted, looking forward to another great season. March is off with a bang. It comes in like a lion and ends like a lamb. For some reason, I don't think December is going to be a lamb. So unless we're cooking it and sitting down with dinner with each other. So I definitely appreciate the opportunity.
Always a pleasure. And yes, I did. I apologize. I did forget, but I've added it to the notes here, so I'll make sure next time to mention that, the Teacher and Coach of the Year. Definitely is an honor and well-deserved. Jim, how about yourself? And again, start off with the best way if folks want to reach out, whether it be an email, a website, or all of the above. And if you have anything specific you'd like to plug this evening, by all means, take some time to do so.
Well, first, I'd like to congratulate John on that award. It's well-deserved, and you put in a lot of work to earn that, and you deserve that Teacher of the Year award. I can be reached at jim@endicottgolf.com and also on my website at royalstcloudacademy.com. And I really look forward to being a part of this panel. And Ted, I thank you for the opportunity. And I'm looking forward to a great go with Golf Tips Magazine as well as the Coach's Corner. So thank you again.
Well, I appreciate it.
And John, thank you for letting me be a part of this as well.
Yeah, you're quite welcome, Jim. I was glad to have you. And as John pointed out, this was, the first time that you were on. So we won't be as good to you the next time. I promise you that. John and I will make sure we give you a hard time. So you've earned your wings. But no, we're appreciative and great job, fantastic job actually. Appreciate it, and we look forward to some future great discussions on the Coach's Corner panel, and definitely some more thoughtful and interesting articles to come golf tips away, and we look forward to those as well. But both of you, thank you for doing a great job on this Coach's Corner panel, and again, also congratulations, John, on a well-deserved award. And it certainly it couldn't have picked a better person to receive it for 2023. So thanks, guys. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you both the next time on Coach's Corner panel. Have a great one.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ted. Thanks, Jim.
All right.
Thank you, John.
All right. That was John Hughes and Jim Endicott joining me on the Coach's Corner panel segment here on Golf Talk Live. And we're going to take a quick break and hear a message from Golf Tips Magazine. And then we'll be joined by this evening's special guest, Will Carswell from Blue Tees Golf.
The following ad is sponsored by Golf Tips Magazine.
Are you tired of being short off the tee? And what about those 3 putts? Forget about it. It's time you got serious about your game. Golf Tips, the most in-depth magazine in the industry. For over 30 years, Golf Tips has delivered expert content such as the latest golf instruction from America's top pros, simple-to-follow practice and game improvement drills, fitness and mental game tips, equipment, training aids, accessory and apparel reviews, golf destinations and travel tips for every budget, and so much more. Don't miss a single issue. Go to golftipsmag.com and subscribe today.
All right, welcome back to Golf Talk Live. And as I mentioned, we just wrapped up Coach's Corner, and I'm going to be joined now by my very special guest of the evening, Will Carswell. He's the sales director for Blue Tees Golf. He's a 24-year golf industry veteran who has worked with such great companies as Yonex and Voice Caddy. And he's here to join me tonight. We're going to talk about what's new and exciting at Blue Tees, and maybe talk a little bit about him, how he got interested in the golf industry, and a little bit more about his background. So please welcome my very special guest to the show, Will Carswell. Good evening, Will.
Thanks for having me, Ted. Hey, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I appreciate it. Thank you for joining me this evening. So I'm going to start, since I haven't had you on here before. I always like to sort of, dive in, and before we get into some of the other things that we're going to talk about, is talk a little bit about why golf for you. What about the game appealed to you? So maybe give us a little bit of your history from very early beginnings up until where you are now.
Well, that's a tough question. Got to think about many, many years of going back here. But I tell you, I got in the industry in 1998. It was a different industry in 1998, as I'm sure, Ted, as you have experienced, than it is today. But pretty much as a 18, 19-year-old kid in the golf industry, big sports fan, and for me to work in anything in sports, it's like a kid working at Toys R Us or at a candy store. It was just a pleasure to be able to get in and work in sports. Never really played golf in my life until 1998, and I started at the time, one of the most, to this day, a very innovative company with Yonex Golf, pioneering graphite technology. Started there with their team in the warehouse, and just loved the industry, like I said, and picked up the game. And why golf? It's just, It's a phenomenal game that you could play for a lifetime, and it teaches, you know, a ton of values of in life in general. And now as a father, you know, you could kind of instill those values in a game or in a sport that they could take along for the rest of their lives. So it's just, you know, again, it's sports, and it's just an exciting game that teaches a lot of values in general.
Well, and it's also, well said, you know, it's also a game, I think, Will, that a lot of people underestimate. Obviously, it's very challenging, as we all know, and can be frustrating at times. But it can also equally be very rewarding. I mean, you know, I don't know how many, you know, students I've had on the lesson tee that, you know, struggled for many, many years playing the game, and yet they keep coming back. And I often ask them, you know, why do you come back? And their answer is, well, you know what, I was on the practice range last week and hit some bad shots, but then I hit 2-3 real good drives, or, you know, really smoked one out there, and it just brought me back the weekend after. And I think a lot of people look at golf, even though it's frustrating, there's just something that, and I hate to use the word addictive, but it is essentially, in a way, especially, you know, it just takes one good hit. And I've had players of all ages and all levels on the tee that have said the same thing. So you didn't take the game up until much later. You said you were around 18 or so when you got into the golf industry. Once you did and got a sort of a taste of it and saw some of the things that were going on in the industry, you said it was very early. What were some of the things, your earlier recollections at Yonex and then again at Voice Caddy? I want to get into that before we talk about where you are now. That really caught your eye. What was interesting about that propelled you to take things to the next step?
Well, also, Ted, I'm a history buff or a history nut. So for me, that what really made me fall in love with the game as well as the history of golf. I mean, as anyone and everyone who knows, you know, an ounce of anything about golf, I mean, we know that the long storied history of the game that goes back, you know, 1,000 years or so, right? And so it's just always interesting to see. I become a true Ben Hogan follower. At the time when I started with the Yonex in 1998, they had Phil Mickelson on their staff, and he was at the time 4 years, turned pro in 94, you know, and so he was arguably one of the biggest names in golf until Tiger, you know, came along, but still Phil was there and a young guy, and that kind of was an exciting time. You know, back in those days, the custom fitting aspect was kind of fun because back then it was just 9 or 10.5 regular stiff, right? There wasn't really no other real options at that time in 1998. It's just really cool to see how the game has evolved, not only from how it's played, but the equipment as well. But again, history, I think you could take a lot of what happened yesterday and yesteryears and look at what the innovative technologies that are happening now. Again, my affinity with Yonex, you know, 100% graphite head at the time, 25, 30 years ago, and look at where we are now with the Stealth 2,
right.
And carbon graphite has kind of come full circle in equipment because now it's just so innovative and gives, you know, the technological freedom for engineers and such to design products that could kind of fit. And at the end of the day, we're all chasing that extra yard, right? So it's always about that extra, that distance and, you know, technology and such. I mean, again, those kind of things have always interested me in this industry.
Yeah, and I think it's important that you are able to look back like that, because I think if you have an understanding of where you've sort of been and where the industry has been in the past, as you move forward, and now we're going to talk a little bit about blue tees, as you move forward into a different age, if you will, for this game, it kind of makes it a little bit exciting, especially for a history buff like you that enjoys the history of the game, but to look and reflect back at the many things that have gone on to bring us where we are today. So tell us a little bit about the mission of Blue Tees, what their essential mission is, and then we're going to get into specific things about the company and some of the products that they have. So what's generally the mission that they want to accomplish?
Well, and I think there's a lot – that's a great question. I think there's a lot of synergy with what the game has – well, what the golf industry and the sport of golf, the industry of golf, I don't think just in the United States but around the world since, you know, the pandemic, I think the game has become a lot more diverse. It's become a lot younger. You know, that top button on the old dress shirt has kind of been unbuttoned now, so to say. I mean, I'm sure you were at the PGA show this year. I've never seen a younger, more diverse PGA show in my life. This was like I joke with the guys at Blue Tees because again, we're a 3-year-old company. We're incorporated October 26, 2019. And in 3 short years, we've, become the number 2 rangefinder brand in the U.S. And that's been a huge, huge feather in our cap. But where I was getting at, it's just the game has now become a lot more accessible, if you will. I don't know if that's the right term, but we're trying to change the way that players see the golf course, right? And that's just no pun intended in terms of looking through a rangefinder or a DMD or a distance measuring device. But the company was the whole birth, if you will, of the company came from our 3 founders who are still very involved in the company. But we have CEO, our head lead product designer and head of product is still there, and our head of sales and marketing essentially are still operating the company. But it was just founded on one simple thing: is if every golfer needs a quality rangefinder, and we shouldn't have to spend $500 for one, and the $100 ones on Amazon are terrible. So what can we do to provide more accessibility and significant product innovation, but at the same time value innovation? And that's kind of what we've done. And like I said, in 3 short years, we've become the number 2 rangefinder brand in golf. I think we do a lot of things differently and modern. Like you made a good point earlier about kind of not forgetting. We use the term internally, blocking and tackling. The fundamentals are not forgetting where you came from, if you will, to kind of know where you're going. And that's kind of what we do. What we've done. We've looked at what we've said is, hey, let's innovate product number 1, and make a premium product at a price that is accessible, and at the same time take the value innovation and that accessibility of the product and add that. For instance, our S3 Max laser rangefinder, which is our flagship rangefinder, something so simple and so subtle but goes a long way from consumer value, is in the box of every S3 Max, we have 3 CR2 batteries in there that we put in there for the consumer. So we're basically not only innovating product and performance, but taking that accessibility and value to a whole new level. And then we have some really cool products. I mean, arguably some of the most innovative products that might hit the golf industry this year with our new GPS series coming in the summer. We're extremely excited with that product.
So that brings me to my next question, and is Blue Tees is not just about rangefinders, but actually includes a wide variety of products and accessories. So give us a rundown, and obviously if there's some things that aren't quite out yet and you can't sort of let the cat out of the bag speaking, that's fine. We'll get that the next time you come on. But give us a bit of a rundown of some of the products in the Blue Tees line.
Well, our flagship series laser is the S3 Max. It retails at $269. Has a slope switch magnet auto ambient display, which basically imagine like a transition lens for a scope. All the data and numbers will appear red out of the box, which is the most vivid color. But typically in brighter conditions, red will get drowned out. So it'll transition, if you will, or the auto ambient display will transition and show all the data in black until the conditions become more optimal to go back to red. And it'll all do this automatically. So slope switch magnet, auto ambient display. Again, we have it available, so really cool in 4 different colors. Has a 900-yard range, so definitely going to be able to be a product that can be used, whether it's a entry-level player down to a touring professional. Flag lock, so where it'll vibrate on capture. And also we have a scan mode, so a ton of bells and whistles and features built into this product. Like I said, at a phenomenally accessible price. We also have our S2 Pro Plus slope switch, retails at $219. Comes in a couple different colors, 800-yard range, but still has that flag lock where it'll vibrate on capture, but also the scan mode. Then we've done really, really well with our golf lifestyle player speaker. It's more of a golf lifestyle speaker, ultimate tailgate speaker, if you will. There's no GPS built in the player speaker, but, sound quality, crisp sound, deep bass, IPX7 waterproof. You can pair 2 phones to 2 speakers to 1 device or 1 phone, which makes it a really cool product to have on the golf course. So you don't have to have those dueling playlists where one of your golf carts is listening to George Strait and the other guys listen to Metallica, both great artists. But but not
right.
the most pleasant thing to hear at the same time. So you could kind of pair two of our speakers with one phone. But then again, as a lifestyle speaker, imagine you're at home and you're entertaining in the summer and you got one speaker in the house, one outside. Everybody's having a good time listening to the same music. It's, like I said, IPX7 waterproof. That comes in 3 different colors. That has been a phenomenal product for us as well. And from an accessory standpoint, this has been really, really a time for us that we've really seen the brand power, and just it's amazing. As a 24-year industry veteran, I've never seen a technology brand in this space create so much noise and disrupt the industry as much as I've seen Blue Tees. And again, I'm talking to you, I mean, you said it previously. I was a competitor for the last 3 years prior to joining the brand.
Right.
And I read these golf data tech reports every month, and I was always wondering, how in the heck is this brand that's just literally a toddler in terms of age creating and disrupting, creating so much noise in this industry? And now I've been a part of the brand for about 7 months, and I can see the innovative ways of the product, but also the innovative ways of how we do business. And again, it's just a pleasure to. But going back to like the accessory line, we have a magnetic towel, which is it's the number 1 selling golf towel at Dick's Sporting Goods and Golf Galaxy in store in the nation. So that's another huge feather in our cap.
Wow.
It's a waffle towel with a magnet, carabiner clip, and a built-in silicone scrub brush and groove cleaner. So little bit, all the way down to our smaller accessories that just accent the brand, all the way down to our flagship series. We're just significant innovation, and it's just amazing to see. And then I can let the cat out of the bag a little bit with our new GPS products that we're launching in the summer, which for your listeners, they'll, from a consumer and end user level, they'll probably be the first to hear of it here on Golf Talk Live. The Player Plus speaker, we're launching 2 new products in the summer. I don't know if I'm getting ahead of ourselves, if you want me to slow down there, but if I may, I'll go ahead and let that cat out of the bag. So the Player Plus speaker, everything our user has grown to love about the Player speaker is going to be encompassed into this new Player Plus speaker. But now we're going to have a glass touch screen that's going to be incorporated on the actual speaker. That'll be the same type of quality glass on your iPhone or Android device. You're going to be able to swipe, up just as if it is like you're going to be able to swipe up and down and do a lot of different things on this speaker as you would on your phone. So at launch, it's going to be powered by the new Blue Tees app, which is going to be a phenomenal app. I've tested it in beta the last 2 months. Phenomenal. I mean, what a great app. I'll get into that one in a sec. But at launch, the app's going to have 5 screens, or the speaker will have 5 screens, and it's powered by the app. So the first screen will give you like front, back, center. It'll give you the par of the hole, the handicap of the hole, and the hole number. You're going to be able to swipe left or right, and your next screen you're going to see is an aerial view of a hole with yardages to hazards. Swipe left again, you'll be able to see an aerial view of the hole with yardages to the third screen actually will be a shot measurement screen. You'll be able to touch a button on the device to indicate to it to initiate measurement. Hit your shot, hopefully end up in the middle of the fairway. Hit that button again, and it'll tell you how far you hit the ball from point A to point B. You'll be able to keep your score on the device and track putts during your round. You'll be able to archive scores within the app and do advanced stats. And then my favorite screen, the 5th screen at launch, will be your home screen, date, time, artist, song title. You'll be able to skip songs, pause your music. It's just going to be one of the most innovative GPS speaker to ever launch. I've been telling everybody it's the Cadillac of golf GPS speakers, and it's launching in June. It's going to have a retail price of $199.99. So from again, going into that value, innovation, and accessibility, the product is definitely going to be that. And to accompany it, we'll also have a GPS handheld, which we'll call the Ringer, which will be an out-of-the-box GPS device. So it will not require any integration of the app. So it'll accommodate that player, let's say, that maybe has a shaky hand and doesn't typically use the laser, but also it'll accommodate that older player that maybe still owns a flip phone that really can't download an app because it's an out-of-the-box GPS device. But you can also choose to integrate the app with the Ringer, so it'll also accommodate that high-tech gadget player as well. So anyone on both sides of those spectrums and anyone in between, everything I told you kind of about those screens on the Player Plus are going to be incorporated in the in the Ringer. and both of them are going to have access to 41,000 courses in our database.
Wow.
We partnered with one of the largest GPS providers in golf. They'll both be available in 2 colorways. Obviously, they'll both have magnets. We're just extremely happy for both of these products. They'll both have a retail price of $199.99. And then the app that we're launching to power these devices will be 100% free, iPhone, Android. And the real big thing that we're happy about is it's going to be, again, accessibility. It's open to anyone and everyone. So you could be someone that doesn't even own a Bluetooth device or a golf device, but you'll have access to using GPS on your phone with our app. Or you could even be using a competitor's product, and maybe you still love our app. It's just going to be open to anyone and everyone. So we're extremely excited with that. That's the next chapter in the evolution of Bluetooth as a brand. Like I said, we're only a little over 3 years old. I tell a lot of our guys and a lot of our customers, and honestly, anyone that'll listen, is it's almost like if the Wright brothers built an airplane while this thing was flying, how fast this brand has grown. And I'm just extremely excited and proud to be a part of it.
And I mean, it sounds fantastic. I can't wait to see the 2 new additions to your product line this summer. What's I think when I listen to what you were saying, and obviously very passionately, you guys obviously pay attention to your market, and this is how. And I can guarantee you, because there is so much technology, there is so much new products coming out, as you saw. I did answer your earlier comment about going to the PGA show. I definitely did, and it just blows me away. I hadn't been for a couple of years because of obviously the pandemic, and this was the first year back. And you're exactly right in your analogy. It was like an entirely different generation coming in, which is very exciting in a lot of ways, because it brings new innovation. But for you guys to get where you are, to get to the number 2 spot in 3 years, says a lot about the fact that it's not just about the products, but it's the fact that you're listening to your customers. They're telling you what they like, what they want, and you're adapting accordingly. And that's important for any business today to be able to reach out to their. I mean, a lot of companies do the opposite, where they come out and say, okay, here's what we're going to put out, and hopefully everybody will like it. You guys are kind of doing the opposite. If I am hearing you correctly, in what you're talking about, is the fact that you're really dialing into, okay, what is it that the customer is looking for, what experience, while at the same time being respectful of the fact that, one, it has to be inclusive, but also it has to be affordable. And there's a lot of great products, don't get me wrong, out there, but there's some stuff out there that's just out of everybody's price range, or certainly a lot of people's price range. So you guys are really hitting and ticking a lot of those boxes that the newer golfers coming into, especially the ones coming in from, the rise, if you will, through the pandemic, you guys are really ticking a lot of those boxes, and you certainly should be proud of that. Did I hit it on the head?
I think you did. Ted. And I think, again, in 2023, and obviously we're a company that just, literally was established 5 months before the pandemic. And to be quite honest, I mean, as you know this as a teaching professional as well, and being in this golf industry, is for the first few weeks, I mean, I'm in California, so it was things were a lot more dire here than they were in other parts of the country. But for the first couple of weeks, I mean, it was a scary situation in the world, right? And so only if we knew then what we knew now, right? Everything, the stress levels and such would have been alleviated. And that's kind of where the company, and that's where I'll kind of bring this back to we're the direct-to-consumer brand, but really to drill down even further about the golf professional and the green grass support and the PGA professionals and all the teaching pros around the country. That's where we've really made our hay, if you will, is the support of the teaching professional and the facilities around the country, whether they be off course or on course, green grass, if you will, locations, is being able to look at it and say, at the end of the day, we do need to have a product like this for our customer, because that's what we've been trying to evangelize, if you will, of saying there's one brand out there that owns 99% of the tour, but you know what? The guys that are playing daily fee golf courses aren't tour players. They want access to similar data without having to spend $600, and kind of where we've started, but also the partnership that we've had with golf professionals and retail shops around the country, as well as they're helping us convey that message to the consumer. Because at the end of the day, you're 100% right. We have to listen to what the consumer wants, and I think the consumer definitely wants quality product at prices that are much more accessible, are much more valuable. So yeah, I don't think you could have said it any better than how you said it.
Yeah, and I think what we've noticed too as teacher professionals is and it happens in with lessons as well, is the consumers now, the younger generation coming up, whether you want to call them millennial, Gen Z, what have you, are much more savvy when it comes to the cost of things. They look at things and they say, hey, I can get this for this, so why do I want to pay that? And at first, a lot of people probably scratched their head and said, well, wait a minute, we can't do that, or we're not going to. But more companies are starting to recognize that, it is possible to still put out a high-quality product, but at a reasonable price. And people don't mind spending a little bit extra if the value is there and if what they're paying is going to do what it says it does. Where people have a hard time is just, willy-nilly, that's an old expression, by the way, paying
I'm old enough to remember willy-nilly.
Yeah. So you know what I mean. So if they're going to pay, like you said, $600, it's the same thing with a lot of the launch monitors and the mobile launch monitors. I mean, some of them are very, very expensive. They're certainly good and good products, but a lot of people look at that and they say that's a big chunk of change to put out. So kudos to you and all of the other members of the Blue Tea staff who recognize that and have decided, we're going to look at things a little bit differently here. We're going to reach out not just to the consumers, but we're going to reach out to the industry and say, okay, what's really happening? What's going on out here? And not just sort of your standard market research, which a lot of companies, unfortunately, still fall into that trap. So kudos to you guys for really stepping, and that's why you're being rewarded with a lot of energy and a lot of excitement. I want to talk about something else which really caught my eye. I was looking on your website. I've been on many times, but something in particular, and you guys offer a trade-up option, which is very interesting. Tell us about how that works.
Well, basically, how that works on is you would basically go into the website, and if you're ready to, let's just say, upgrade your product into a newer model, let's say, you can, get into your information there at blueteesgolf.com, enter in the data of what particular product you may have that you're ready to kind of trade in and trade up, and you'll get a value for that. You send it in, and we essentially apply that value to the purchase of a new product. I mean, pretty simple, but yet very innovative. You know what I mean, Ted? I mean, it's something that we're just trying to I think in general, again, as a golf professional as well, I think you can appreciate this as well. We've seen the gravy train, if you will, of the golf industry, of all the new players that have come into the game in the last 3 years. But the one big thing that we're trying to the big buzzword, I think, in the industry general is retention, right? How can we keep those players playing, especially with a pending recession and everything else that we're hearing around the world, is how can we keep people playing? And then also, how can we keep people using the product? And that's kind of where we started. I mean, we're now on Series 3 Max. I believe that's going to be our 1, 2, 3. That's our fifth different model we've launched in 5 years. So we're able to, do a trade-in program. We have a program where you could say generation rangefinder for life, where you typically will constantly get a 30% discount as you keep recycling up your model for life, basically.
Right, and that's a great and that's a great opportunity, and that's exactly why I wanted to pull that off the site to talk a little bit about that, because you're exactly right. People don't want to go out and buy something and treat it like, which we have for so many years, as sort of a throwaway. Okay, well, I've had this for 3 or 4 years, and okay, I got to buy something new because the technology changes so rapidly with electronics and that sort of thing. People want to look at, upgrading or updating that technology, but don't want to feel like they have to make a whole brand new investment of full capital again. So to be able to offer a trade up option like that is a very smart thing to add to your business model, and it's not available to everybody. I don't mean on yours, but with other products out in the market, that's not always an option, and that certainly should be. So again, kudos to your team for adding that in. Also, something else that caught my eye, Will, was you guys obviously have a very successful brand ambassador program. What are some of the opportunities offered here?
Well, and the brand ambassador program, essentially, Ted, what that kind of does, I mean, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners have seen where we really do our best, if you will. I don't want to use the term dominate, but what we do, one of the things we do best is our social media marketing and getting our message out to the masses via social media platforms. And, with the affiliate program, essentially that just becomes a brand ambassador program where essentially we're looking for people to help us evangelize the brand. And what we're trying to do is get people who have, I mean, obviously there's a vetting process that goes, with our marketing team that kind of, identifies if someone can qualify as an ambassador. But if we're able to get someone on board as an ambassador, then they're promoting products, their followers or their network, if you will, whether it be students if they're a teaching pro, or it's just flat out followers on Instagram, just say they put out great content. They're able to extend, great discounts to their community, if you will. So that is part of our brand ambassador program. I mean, again, the one thing we do well is promote the brand on the social platforms, and we're just trying to continue to expand our network of influencers, if you will.
Yeah, and that's, again, we're seeing a big shift in the industry. As I'm sure you noticed at the show, we're seeing more technology roll out. Things like, it's not just in the equipment itself, but it's in, launch monitors, it's in simulators. All of this is coming.
I've never seen so many simulator brands in my life than this year at the PGA show. It was amazing to see just every corner you turn, there was another simulator. There was another launch. I mean, it again, like we said earlier, it's great to see. It's just, I apologize. I couldn't agree with you more.
No. I don't know whose it was. I can't remember because there were so many, but and they did it politely. But one of the groups that was there had a little sitting area, basically right beside it, and I didn't realize it was the launch monitor. And I sat down, and somebody very politely came over and said, "Well, you're in our launch monitor," and I thought, okay, or simulator. And I can't remember whose it was. And they were nice about it, but I just thought to myself, I said, well, what are you putting a chair in here for? And that was just, for purposes of demonstration and that. But I just sat down. But anyway.
It's really cool to see that from every aspect of our industry, every data, whether it's not even just in our industry and life in general, analytics, if you're a sports fan, between, the old Bill James rotisserie baseball from 35, 40 years ago that birthed, Moneyball, if you will, now analytics and sabermetrics. It's all about numbers, and consumers of all level realize that they want access to data, and it's whether it's a launch monitor, whether it's a rangefinder, whether it's now with the balance boards to know what your weight transfer is going. It's just wild because that's how we realize how can you improve or maximize distance or do all these different things, right? It's just really, we're in an industry, we're in an era now of just numbers and data. And, we're able to have a small part of that with distance measuring devices that we're extremely excited about. It's just, again, this industry, again, I remember Golf Tips back in, I'm trying to think, Dave Brennan was a gentleman that used to sell, this was back when a lot of your industries, your listeners probably never remembered, there were so many golf magazines at one time, right? I mean, right. As a golf nut. It was, as a consumer, it was phenomenal because you get access to so much good content that you had to wait for on a weekly or monthly basis. But now we're getting this instantaneous on all these websites. And anyways, it's just, I'm showing my age now, Ted.
Well, yeah, I'm a little further up the chain than you are as far as age, but I appreciate, and you're exactly right. And so how do you find, let me just ask you this question, and I have something else I want to talk to you about as well. So how do you find, because it is becoming a numbers game and that sort of thing, and certainly that's fantastic, but there's also those who have spoken out and said, you know what, sometimes too much information is. So how do you find balance with that? I mean, obviously, rangefinder, there's certain things that you're going to investigate and say, okay, this is something people want in their rangefinder. But how do you find a balance with that technology and with those numbers that people don't get overwhelmed with too much information? Because sometimes that can be detrimental as well, as you know, in the industry. And that's something that people have tried to find that balancing act.
What do they always say as the teaching pro? What is it? Paralysis by analysis?
Right. Right, exactly.
Yeah. So I think from a distance measuring device standpoint, you have right now where Blue Tee stands, right? We have a point and shoot laser rangefinder. We have now all of our inline models incorporate a slope switch. So there may be players, obviously tournament players, you can't use a slope in a tournament, but maybe for a beginning player, that slope switch. I mean, I'm kind of speculating here because I really feel when it comes to players in general, I mean, everyone is different, right? But I mean, I think at the end of the day, from our category, there are going to be players that we've identified that are just absolutely not a point and shoot player. Whether it be, there's all kinds of different players that would qualify for that. But that's where this GPS and handheld devices kind of open. How can I say? It opens the world. It opens Blue Tees up to a lot more consumers and users that probably wouldn't have used us in the past. I mean, we definitely have been a company that is definitely skewed more younger, as you can only imagine, because of our marketing, right? I mean, but definitely we're skewing. We're getting a lot more older users into the brand now. I mean, I talked to a pro the other day that said, you know what? I want to carry Blue Tees. I've seen it, but I've really seen it a lot in my cart barn because there's a lot of people that are leaving Blue Tees lasers on my cart. He said, so I figured we might as well bring it into the shop because shucks, I mean, as many people that are leaving these things, we're leaving some sales on the table, if you will. But I think again, that when it comes to launch monitors, I can't really get into that because obviously we're not in that category. But as you know, when it comes to I think from a DMD standpoint or distance measuring devices as it pertains to a point and shoot or GPS, I think you're either a GPS user or you're a point and shoot user. And I think every player who is an avid player, whether you're a 35 handicap or a 2 handicap or a scratch player, I think every player can definitely benefit from using a rangefinder for sure, whether it's on the course or on the practice tee, right? Just actually knowing how far you're hitting, you actually hit a club. And again, not to butter you up as a teaching professional, but also you couple technology with experienced teaching professionals that, and also club fitters that could point you in a different way. Now you're cooking with gas, like they say. You know what I mean? It's I think a lot of players I talk to a lot of players. I interact with a lot of consumers, and I tell a lot of people the first thing I would tell you is go see a teaching pro and get fit. But don't get fit 2 weeks after you picked up a club because you're going to be misfit in 6 weeks after you've taken 4 or 5 lessons. But definitely, I think there has to be a great mixture, if you will, of technology, guidance, and club. And if that guidance includes teaching, lessons and or fitting, I think those all can add up to making a player not only enjoy the game because they're shooting better scores. Because like you said earlier, whether you shoot 120, there's always that one shot that keeps you coming back. But no doubt, I think it all depends. But I think at the end of the day, from a rangefinder DMD company, you're either a point and shoot player or you're a GPS player. And I think we're extremely excited now that we could kind of open up to that GPS player.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think it's something, not just on the golf course, as you said, but also on the range as well. I mean, a lot of people, one of the pet peeves that we have as an instructor is people don't know their numbers. They don't understand how far they're hitting each club. And, and we were talking about this earlier on the program when I had the panel. And, we talked about where, somebody might come up with a 7-iron and say, okay, well, what are you doing with your 7-iron? Well, I'm hitting it 150 yards, let's say. But the truth of the matter is, out of 10 shots, they're maybe hitting it a couple times 150, other times it's 135, maybe it's 155, 160, what have you. So there's no consistency, and they don't know what the actual distance. There's no consistency to it. So, with the point and shoot or some of the other technology that's out there, it gives them a better understanding, because now they can actually dial right into how far they're shooting, hitting with their clubs. And that makes it our life a little bit easier as well, is knowing those numbers, because that adds to the frustration for the player out there. If they're not consistently hitting a certain distance with the club, then we can kind of look at, okay, why are they not? Because the pros obviously do, but the average high handicapper struggles with being consistent. So if we get a general idea of how far they're hitting with each club, then we can work on specific drills and things and that to get them where they're narrowing that pattern in a little bit more, so that when he says I am hitting my 7-iron 150 yards, it may be only a yard or two difference as opposed to a 5 to 10 yard difference. So the technology is definitely a great advantage, not only for the teaching pro, but for the students as well. One other thing that caught my eye on your website earlier was the Players Pack. I really like that. I think it's a great opportunity for somebody to really, that wants to get a lot of the different products that you have to offer. So what's included in them, and give us a general idea of what that's retailing for.
Well, Ted, our Player Pack, again, keep in with that same consistent message of accessibility. Our S3 Max rangefinder's in there, our player speaker, our mag hub, and our 6-in-1 divot tool. Still comes equipped with, again, 3 CR2 batteries with the value still in that Player Pack are going to be in there. But some other cool accessories. I mean, the Mag Hub's a phenomenal product. Again, very innovative, a product that we've had in our line for a while now. I mean, it's basically our Mag Hub that's in this Player Pack. You clip it to your golf bag, and now if you're a push cart player, I live in Los Angeles, and I'm a push cart player almost exclusively currently, and right. Being able to just grab my rangefinder off of my push cart and point and shoot and put it right back on my Mag Hub, it essentially becomes a hub that you could magnetize all your magnetic products to. As a push cart player, I'm not digging into my rangefinder case every time I want to point and shoot, which can be a little tedious or mundane at times. Yes. And waste a little bit of time. But also as a rider, it's an insurance policy that you won't forget your rangefinder on your golf cart. So instead of pulling it off the side of the cart, you're pulling it off your golf bag every time. So, and then our 6-in-1 divot tool is also included in there. It's again 6-in-1, if you will, divot tool, ball repair, club tee or cigar tee, groove cleaner, alignment tool, things like that. So it's a true value pack in that Players Pack. So it's kind of like the Swiss Army knife of golf. Has many tools in one. I love it. I really was very excited when I saw that on your website. I just thought this is, again, it goes back to what we talked about earlier, is you guys have really, it's not just about, this product or that product. They all sort of complement one another, and then you've nicely bundled them up into this Players Pack, giving somebody the opportunity, again, at very affordable, pricing, to be able to get a lot of these different products, and they just complement one another so well, which is very rare in products. A lot of times they'll have something, and certainly you have a flagship product, and that's understandable, but at the same time, all of the other products sort of complement that flagship product. And I love the speaker as well. I don't have one, but I was actually playing with a group at Pinehurst earlier last year, and they had one, and it was very, very cool. So I'm excited to see the upgrades and the new features with the app and things when it comes out in the summer and that. But so
the most important part is where can the listeners go to get more information about some of the products we've been talking about tonight?
On all the social media platforms, Blue Tees Golf, and you can also visit blueteesgolf.com.
For somebody that's maybe hasn't, gotten any of the products from anybody out there, what would you say to them that maybe, wants to play golf, wants to better their game? What would be a good thing for them to start with?
Obviously, I would definitely say right off the bat, distance measurement device, whether it be our new GPS series that's launching here in the summer, our rangefinder, whether it's our S3 Max, our flagship series, or S2 Pro Plus, that's always going to be the great thing to start with, I feel. And also see your local teaching professional.
I couldn't agree more. Well said. Well, Will, I want to thank you. I'm going to let you go a few minutes early, but I appreciate you coming on tonight and talking about Blue Tees Golf. A lot of exciting things happening. And again, congratulations to you and the rest of the team for doing a phenomenal job. I mean, to move up the market in such a short period of time. I remember when you guys had first started out, we had somebody from, I think it was Taylor actually had come on, I believe 2 years ago. I was on last year, but I believe it was 2 years ago when he came on the program and talked about it, and still in the very early stages. So you guys have really made some headway and are really coming out with some exciting products. And I'm excited to see what's going to come out this summer. Now, when is that going to be up on your site? So that, is it up there now? The new stuff that's coming out or no?
Definitely not up there yet. You should be able to start seeing it. I'd got to look at the notes, but we're starting to ship June 1st. So right around that time, right around a little bit before Father's Day should be available. We'll start, you'll definitely see it in all platforms when we're ready to go. It hasn't been put out there. Like I said, I think your Golf Talk Live listeners are going to be some of the first people this is going to be the first place they're going to hear about it.
Again, Will, I appreciate very much you coming on Golf Talk Live tonight and sharing that.
Ted, thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you guys are welcome to come back anytime. And like I said, I always like to see innovative companies in that are really making a change and really doing what they can to help grow this game. It's a good game, like you said. It's an exciting game. And it really needs to be made available to everybody, and you guys are certainly doing your part with what you're doing at Blue Tees. So thank you very much for taking time tonight, and we'll definitely have you guys back on again in a future show. But have a great weekend, and enjoy some golf this weekend.
I hope so. I surely do. I appreciate everything. Thank you. Have a great evening as well.
You too. Thank you, Will. Bye-bye. All right, that was the sales director of Blue Tees Golf, Will Carswell, speaking with me here the last 45 to 50 minutes or so, talking about some of the new product lines that are coming out and some of the existing product line that's currently available. And again, as he said, if you go to blueteesgolf.com, all of the information's there that we've talked about tonight, all of the different products. And certainly if you're an existing customer and maybe you're ready to trade up, as I'm sure already aware, there's a great trade-up option available to get in on some of that newer technology, certainly the next level that Blue Tees has. And again, for them to pivot to the number 2 in golf in their categories is definitely something very very good, and certainly they should be proud of. All right. Again, special thanks to the guys earlier on Coach's Corner, John Hughes and Jim Endicott. Thanks, guys, for doing a fantastic job. And once again, thank you to my special guest this evening, Will Carswell from Blue Tees Golf. On that note, I will be back next week with another Coach's Corner panel and another insightful interview guest. I hope you'll join me. Have a great weekend. God bless everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this week's broadcast of Golf Talk Live. We'd like to thank this week's Coach's Corner panel, and a special thank you to tonight's guest. Remember to join Ted every Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. Central on Golf Talk Live. And be sure to follow Ted on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you're interested in being a guest on Golf Talk Live, send Ted an email at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.